Hello, so I'm creating another video and I'm trying to tell people about something I've been experiencing, as I said, from the first video that uploaded here in the series on Christmas Eve of 2025 last year. I was talking about how God has given me this incredible gift where I've been experiencing this incredible peace of mind, and I want my neighbors to experience that because I don't want to keep that all to myself, you know what I mean? When there's something that you're really excited about, you like to share that with other people. People like to share with their family and their friends about the things that they're excited about when it comes down to whether it's some sort of food they like, some sort of restaurant, some sort of book, whatever it is. And so what I have, it's too good to keep to myself, and so there's nothing up my sleeve, kind of like in that REM song by the Man on the Moon. My sleeves are rolled up and I'm trying to tell people about this incredible thing that I experienced. I'm trying to offer some of my neighbors some pointers because it appears to be that some of my neighbors wanted me to keep with this video series, even though I know it's kind of repetitive and whatnot, because I kind of said the kinds of things that already needs to be said. All the main details are there. People need a relationship with Jesus. People were made to be in a relationship with Jesus, and that's just how people are meant to be. Adam and Eve, before they ate from the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, there was no evil in this world to mess everything up. But now, since there's evil here in this world, people need Jesus as their Lord and Savior, and they need to be able to, they need a relationship with Christ so they're able to heal from the hurts in this world that are weighing down on them. So some people, they have something that's weighing down on their heart. Other people, they have something that's weighing down on their mind. There's something that's negative, and they don't want that to be there in their life. Here is the Capitol skyline here in the state of Wisconsin, here in the United States of America. And yesterday in the morning, we had wildfires in Canada. They were making smoke come here into the Midwest. And that was in Chicago, and Milwaukee, and places all over. I saw it on national news. People were talking about how we were seeing, the effects of these this smoke and these wildfires in Canada. And so the fact of the matter is, just like there's this Johnny Nash song about, I can see clearly now the rain is gone. He says that I can see all the obstacles in my way. People have these emotional obstacles in their way. And so they both need to deal with some of the negative aspects. And the good news is you don't even really need to know exactly what is weighing down on you. If Jesus is your Lord and Savior, Jesus is able to push out that stress because Jesus is able to be everything for people. And Jesus being everything for people, He's able to have a way, just like chiropractors and people that are masseuses, giving massages and whatnot. He has a way to be able to get those problems in one's life, essentially worked out and whatnot. So if Jesus is our Lord and Savior, just like I was mentioning earlier that some of my friends, they've already passed into eternity. But for those of my friends who have Jesus as their Lord and Savior, I know I'm going to see them again because they're still alive. And I've shared this in this video series before. So when it comes on issues of death and dying, that's something that if Jesus is one's Lord and Savior, even though it's terrible when it comes down to the time that we have to wait, when it comes down to seeing the people that we'd like to see again, having Jesus as one's Lord and Savior really does make things a lot better because we know, then we know we're going to see them again. And so, that changes everything. So in having Jesus as one Lord and Savior, then it takes care of issues with death and dying. There's still hope that's there. Just like David Crowder, he has this video, SMS, and he shows the death of a dearly loved friend. And that dearly loved friend, it kind of shows the hope is essentially what David Crowder was showing in that video and whatnot. So what comes down to the death of our neighbors, if they have Jesus as the Lord and Savior, they're not actually really dead, they're still alive, and so we have that hope, so we're going to see them again. Including, of course, obviously, issues, death and dying isn't all there is. I said, there's some of these issues where, people, they're dealing with something where it's either some of their sinful aspect in their life, where it's an aspect of this world not being enough. And so, like I said, I'm trying to exhort people and help them know that if the things of this world are not enough for people, that's not supposed to be the kind of thing that's how it is. And so there is a need for people to be in relationship with Jesus. People need Jesus as their Lord and Savior. And so people need to accept Jesus as Lord and Savior, and they need to stop entertaining their idols. Some of our neighbors, they think that they can have Jesus as the Lord and Savior, and they think that they can, still beat people when there isn't a sufficient reason of wrong. And the fact of the matter is, if people think that they can, have Jesus as the Lord and Savior, and then they think they can still, go on and living a life of essentially beating people when there isn't a sufficient reason wrong, they haven't actually truly submitted to having Jesus as the Lord and Savior. Because that's essentially a description of murderers, you know what I mean? Just as Jesus said that if anyone looks at a woman lustfully, he's already committed adultery with her in his heart. In the same way, when people are beating people, when there isn't a sufficient reason of wrong, just like the word arrow with an S over the first R, that's acting like a rabid dog. You know what I mean? That's not showing any sort of discretion. We can't do that. And some of our neighbors, they lie to themselves and they say, oh, they're doing themselves a favor. They're helping out their neighbor, but they're not actually really helping out their neighbor. They shouldn't be doing that, beating people when there isn't a sufficient reason of wrong. So some people, they're a liar, and they may have fooled themselves, and they think that they have Jesus, the Lord and Savior, but they actually haven't really truly accepted Jesus really isn't truly their Lord and Savior if they're not dying to themselves daily, carrying a cross and following Christ, hating their father and mother, son and daughter, and compared to how much they love Jesus, not looking back and not trying to save their life, but losing their life for Christ's sake. That's what Jesus said in the Gospel of Matthew. So the fact of the matter is, we have people, and we're supposed to reach out for them. We're supposed to help them, know that Jesus really is the Lord of all creation, and they need to have Jesus as the Lord and Savior, because there's so much that really is weighing down on them, and sometimes they haven't even realized it. Just like I remember people talking about how essentially when it's in the winter and sometimes people are letting the winter blues weigh down on them, that's the kind of thing that can be preventing them from experiencing life and experiencing life more abundantly, just like Jesus said that he came for us to experience. And that F4 Phantom 4 to the Gospel is the Gospel of John, also known as a Libra de Buenos. Jesus said that I came that they may have life and have it more abundantly. So, it's important for us to help our neighbors know that, the things in this world, it basically is a disappointment, is what it is. And Jesus was telling it like it is when he said in the Gospel of Matthew, in the Sermon on, do not store for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroys and where thieves break in and steal, but store for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth and rust destroys and thieves break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So this life, it's not going to be able to provide meaningful satisfaction to our neighbors here in this life. Just like in that Rolling Stone song about I can't get no satisfaction, people need to have Jesus as the Lord and Savior so they're able to live their life kind of like in that song by that band by them, About a Mile, and their song by them is satisfied, because the things of this world are just not going to be satisfying in a meaningful, long-lasting way. So people, they really need to have Jesus as their Lord and Savior, and that really is, that really is what people really need, because the fact of the matter is, life is it has disappointments, and it actually would have disappointments if it would be that people were putting their hope in the things of this world. And so it's important for people to look to Jesus and what he said. There's also this Bible verse, it says, taste and see that the Lord is good. So God intended for us to enjoy the things of this world, but we're not supposed to make them an idol more important than our relationship with Jesus. Just as it says, the Apostle Paul wrote in his collection of letters of 1 John, 2 John, and 3 John, do not love the world or the things in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, and the boast of pride of life is not from the Father, but it's from the world. So people need to have Jesus as the center of their life, like in the Charlie Hall song by him, Centered. And if people are having other things in their life, what are they supposed to do when they're in a war zone? People mentioned to me back when I was a little kid that, I'm going to be living in a war zone, and I'm going to get attacked, and that's the way that it is. Kind of like in the opening scene of the Hollywood movie, Hollywood, California.